More of the biggest hits and greatest memories with Mike Bennett on 101 FM.
Mike Bennett with you from now till 12 midday with always the best guests on my show. Absolutely. And do you know what? We were doing a business expo about 4 months ago, and I came, we were just chatting to people, and this very nice lady called Jeanete came, and we were chatting away. Discovered a little bit more about her, and she is a lawyer. Now, not just any lawyer. She's been a dedicated and inspiring senior lawyer, more than 18 years experience in all sorts of areas. But one of the things we're going to be discussing this morning, if, for example, you're about to create a website, or if your business relies on, well, we all rely on things online now, you need to be aware of some of the risks that lie in wait for you, because people don't know just how risky it is. For that reason, Jeanete is here. First of all, welcome to 101 FM.
Thank you very much, Mike. Good morning. It's a lovely day. Isn't
it glorious? It's just beautiful this morning. I was sitting outside, sort of nursing my bites from the mozzie that lives in our house now. I have no idea why. And I'm thinking, wow, how lucky are we to live in Queensland? That's great.
It is.
And, you know, even a Queensland winter is like a Scottish summer. So, you know, I can't complain at all. But we were chatting, obviously I met you at the expo, and yes. the reason I've got you in today, I was really interested in the work that you're doing with people online, because I don't think people realise the legal implications. If you say something, even on Facebook, if you say something slanderous, derogatory, the same rules of slander, I'm guessing, apply as if it was in the written press.
Absolutely. And in fact, more often than not, it ends up in writing on Facebook. So you have to be just as careful online. And the problem is that so many people find it easy to get their business online that they forget about all of the things they would normally do if they were setting up a shop.
Of course.
And all those things still apply. So you do need to be careful. And my advice to people who are starting out is, by all means, get started, start making some money. But the minute you start making some money, actually look at your position and do something to protect yourself.
And the first thing, I'm guessing, that people don't, and it amazes me, and I get emails maybe once every 3 months, people trying to buy my domain name, that they'll set up a business without checking to see if anybody else actually owns that domain name or owns the actual business name, but they go ahead and put it on the internet anyway.
Oh, they do. I've had a number of clients run into problems in exactly that area. So they go ahead, they get all excited about this brand, they create a brand and a product, and just before launch, they get a letter of demand in the mail saying, hey, you're breaching our trademark, or you're doing something wrong, we've already got this, or they suddenly find they can't get it, or just because they find they can secure a domain name, they think that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, there are other checks to do, and you're far better off doing the checks to start with and then coming up with a new idea than you are putting all the time and effort into development and having to change it afterwards.
Because there's no way that a small business can compete with a corporate company. And, you know, if you decide that your logo is going to have a big M on it, for example, you've got to be fairly careful with what it is that you're actually selling. And yeah, like, you must get quite frustrated that people they could save so much time, effort and money by just doing these checks in advance.
Well, the disappointment is that you could save them the time and the money. That's where the frustration is. Not that, you know, I understand people's enthusiasm. I understand the desire to get out there and do something new. But yes, some checks right at the beginning can save you so many headaches.
So obviously you decided that you couldn't reach a mass audience in one hit just by chatting to people, so you decided to write a book about it.
I did.
I have to ask about the title, because, you know, I looked at the title, I thought, how can I use this title in the introduction? And that's why we're using the word ass. How did the title come about?
Well, it's very Australian.
It is, isn't it?
And I much prefer plain language. To me, it makes so much sense if people understand what you're talking about and you understand what they want. And
because let's be honest about it, in the legal profession, you guys have a jargon and a language completely alien to most of the other people. So I think it's brilliant what you're doing, because I know from any experience I've had dealing with legal, we used to work with a lot of corporate companies doing training, and legal would come in and say, oh, we don't want our people to say this because this. And I go, can you now maybe just come back and give me that in English? Because I have no idea what it is that you've just said.
Well, that's it. And that's exactly the problem. And the key things that put most people off from talking to lawyers One is the cost.
Absolutely.
2 is the inability to understand the advice they're getting. And 3 is not understanding what to ask in the first place. So they're intimidated before they even start.
And it's almost, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like going to the dentist, but it is almost like that, because if you've not dealt with lawyers before, you have this impression. You watch Rumpole of the Bailey, you think they're all like that, and of course they're not. And people are... Often they don't want to be seen as being stupid. They think, if I ask that question, they're going to look down on me. But it's better to ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question.
That's true. And that was part of the idea behind the book, was to give people general knowledge about business so that they can look at what they're doing, look at the information I've put into the book to say, well, actually, maybe I should do something about that right now. And at least now they know some of the questions to ask. And then also look at, well, maybe that might be an issue in the future, but I don't need to worry about it now. And it was to try and empower people, particularly in small business, to be able to make those decisions without, as you say, being afraid of looking silly.
And the point is as well, and you mentioned the cost, because I know as a startup business, you have a list of priorities in front of you. One might be, okay, get the website up and running. And I can't even imagine on your top 10 list of, must speak to a lawyer to make sure that I'm doing everything right. And it's not for a small business. It's just not an issue. Whereas to have something like this, to pick up a guidebook and just to be able to reference it, because everybody goes on Google and they think they're getting the right information, but they're not. And Dr. Google can sometimes get things very wrong.
Well, it's not just Google. It's with the proliferation of Facebook now, a lot of people get onto Facebook and they'll ask a question which is actually a legal question, and they'll get a whole bunch of helpful people say, well, I think this, that and the other.
Yep.
And that advice is not always correct either. So if I see that occur and I know it's wrong, I will sometimes put in a post and say, hey, look, that's actually not the case. But there's no way you can keep an eye on all of the posts that end up on Facebook.
No, I was going to say, you can't actually be omnipresent much as you would like to. In fact, I had a lawyer back in the UK that did think he was omnipresent, but that's another story. So who is the target market? Who would get the most benefit from picking up a copy of your book?
Well, anyone who wants to do business online and is actually treating it as more than a hobby. So they're looking at growing something that can support them in the future, and they don't know where to start. So what we've done is, this book is put together with a whole lot of references. You can go back to the website and you can find checklists and that kind of thing to try and support people to understand what they do need to do and what they don't need to do. So I would suggest someone in small business, probably someone who's been operating for a little while and hasn't actually looked at their legals yet, and know that that may be something in their future. It's worthwhile them looking at this book right now and then saying, okay, yes, these things are now urgent and need to be done, and these things, actually, I don't need to stress about them. They can wait, or they're not important. And
things are changing all the time. I mean, it was really interesting watching a very high-profile case which played out on television news last week, which obviously for legal reasons I'm not going to actually mention what the case was. However, one of the people in the jury was actually sending out messages on social media that could have actually ended the trial. It could have been a mistrial.
It could have been.
And people don't realise just the impact that the one throwaway comment on social media, and I'm guessing the same could apply to business. If you've got some kind of litigation going on, if there's some kind of case going on, and you start to reference that on social media, you could be in trouble.
Well, not only can you be in trouble, you can be up for a whole lot more cost. Because if you have to retrial something, that means you're back in court again, and all of the costs you've already spent, you're repeating. So one of the things I always advise clients, if they're involved in any sort of court matter, is you never say anything to anyone until the matter is complete and you have a decision.
Yeah.
And it's very important, but people don't understand, in a day and age where we share everything we do.
Yeah.
That there are things you shouldn't share.
And the argument that you hear from people all the time is they'll turn around and say, but it was my personal Facebook page. And you say, well, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
And this is, I think it's a learning thing. And, if you just cast your mind back 5 years, we wouldn't be having this discussion now.
That's
we wouldn't
true.
be talking about Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all the rest.
Yeah.
And I know of a case in the UK that the trial was halted because somebody was using Snapchat. And their argument was, well, it disappears after a minute. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. So, first of all, if people want to get a hold of a copy of the book, where can they get that? Is it available in the shops? Is it online?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
So you can. It's not available in any outlets as yet, but it is available on Amazon both in paperback and in electronic form.
But we have a copy to give away today, which is absolutely free. And what we'll do is we'll open the telephone lines a little bit later on. If this is something that is of interest to you, if you think it could be very helpful, I'm sure it would be. It's a guide to protecting your online business assets. And you know what? If you are a startup or an established business, there's some great advice on here. Cover your ass online. That's not quite what it says on the front, but you can get the idea anyway. And as we say, if you don't win this one today, then you can get it from Amazon. And if you've missed any details, then you can give Lorraine a call here. It's a minefield out there, and I think people just need to maybe just take 5 minutes. Instead of Facebook Living, maybe think about the legal side of their business, their website, and anything that they do online. And I just appreciate you coming in to chat about it today.
Thank you very much.
So there you are, Jeanete Jifkins. Like I say, if you want to know a little bit more, then you can give Lorraine a ring here at 101 FM. And we'll be giving away a copy of that book between now and 11 o'clock this morning. So just, obviously what we don't want to do is to just give it away so you can say you've won a prize on 101 FM. If it's something that is of interest and relevant to you, then we'll open the lines and you can go into the draw for that. Somebody said it might even have been Paul Barrett this morning. He said, Mike, your halo's slipping. Me? Seriously? As if such a thing could happen.